Okay, Arena. How do we get to 12 wins tonight? What are we doing to finish this month with another 12 win? A little salty about last night's 11 win. What's up, Kung Fu? Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We got to. We were a Paladin deck, and we weren't the best Paladin deck. Our two losses actually came to Paladins. At 6 and 0, we ran into an insane Paladin deck that had a Tareem in their deck, a couple Steeds, better than our deck. And then when we were 8 and 1, we ran into the same Paladin. Luckily, I remembered, and we knew that he had Tareem, so we just played around it. He had Vine Cleaver. It was a good win. Then we lost to another Paladin later on, who I think our deck was better. We just didn't perform as well in the top deck. And then we got to 11 and 2, and we played against a Mage, an extremely rude Mage who had a couple Blizzards and a Shifting Scroll, where at a key moment became a Dragon's Fury. So 1 out of 25 chance it'll be whatever spell, because there's 25 non-quest spells. So every turn it's one of those random ones. Well, it was a Dragon's Fury, so 1 out of 25 was a Dragon's Fury, and then it hit their Flamestrike when there were still like 13 cards left. Now, to be fair, they might not have had any other spells. My guess is that they did, that they had at least one or two other spells left, and they weren't as board clearing as the Dragon's Fury. So I'm a little salty about that one. Oh, that hurts. We were this close to 12 wins, which makes me think if we want 12 wins tonight, maybe we run with the Mage, but it's I really like Druid too, so there's a lot of Druid control that happens if you get a couple taunts and then you get the spells rolling, then you get an amazing Druid run. I think more than likely a Mage is higher tier just because the spell book you can get, holy guacamole. We were against last week or earlier this week, I forgot. It wasn't in last night's run, but we lost to a Mage who had 3 Blizzards and 2 Flame Strikes, and they also got another Flame Strike out of a Spellstone. So it's just like impossible to keep up with. But if we want to end the season on 12 wins, I think we go for a Mage. There's no guarantee. I think it just has the highest win rate of these three, probably for us. I'm not trying to knock these guys. I don't know overall. You got to pick for your playstyle because the differences in them is A, going to be the picks that you get, and then also your playstyle. If you're really aggressive, then Hunter is probably the place for you. Sometimes, even with aggro decks, we mess it up. I mess it up because I'm just a little bit better at understanding late game board, understanding how that shakes out. Those early game decisions, where to trade, what to mulligan, took me a long time to figure out this season. I actually started the season at like rank 7 or 8 with I was trying Odd Hunter first, and it took me a while to understand when to trade. Got to rank 2 with Odd Rogue, so I understand it a little bit better now, but it's it's a little trickier. Control fits me better. So let's pick Mage. Let's see if we can get one more 12 win before the season, before it ends. Though obviously Blizzard doesn't care. It's not like there's a rank ladder for Arena, but I care. Okay, it's a new season. I like to see how well we can do in each season, and we're at 4 12 wins already. So getting to one more would be pretty awesome. We do have an 11, which this is probably last night, so I already talked about it, a little salty. Last night was, I think, the first 11 win that I've had in a really long time. It's either been 10 or 12. I can't even remember the last time I got to game 11 and threw it. And to be fair, I didn't throw that one, but I mean lost it, you know. I'm pretty sad about it. But I'm not sad about this first pick. Let's put this deck together. Can't get to 12 wins if we don't have a deck, right? If you talk all night, Brennan, you won't play any Hearthstone, and you can't possibly get to 12 wins. So we're going to actually start with the Charged Devilsaur. I used to love this card. I think it's decreased in value a little bit as the meta has shifted a little bit, and the board pressure is way more important. The Devilsaur is just overall a solider pick. There's a couple times, not always, but there's a couple times where you really need this guy to be at 8 attack and he's only 3, whereas the Devilsaur gives you way more options. And you can cheat it with Cube, right? If we get Cube, then we might have a really fancy deck. Ooh, but Fungalmancer, that's a great pick to have early on. Really makes you know that your deck's going to have a solid support moving on. It's good in any class. anywhere in Arena. As far as a neutral goes, it's really high up there, definitely top tier. You can get yourself in trouble by not picking enough minions to play with this guy, which is why I'm thinking the Infiltrator over the Cinderstorm. Though in general, Cinderstorm is quite better. Not just because of its interaction with, Mana Worm, or a good play for Vexcrow. If we get it going, this one can definitely follow. But just as far as 5 damage for 3 mana is a really good ratio. I kind of want to have a deck of wonders, but I'm trying to go for 12 wins, guys. Don't let me get too off track and try to have too much fun with it. If our picks had been Shaman, Warlock, and Hunter, then I probably would have picked Shaman and see what we could do. But we'll go for that. So I was just talking about wanting to have help for the Fungalmancer, and that looking at that logic, we would want one of these two. But having a good 2-drop for early trades and an elemental tag is too much to pass up right now. We're hoping to have a 12-win deck, which means we will have some elementals in there, right? Some Steam Surgers probably would be the best of them, just because of their 4-drop instead of 5-drop. And it also means we have to take the Blizzard here. But I do like the other guys quite a bit. But we have to have the AoE. So we tried Vexcrow a couple of weeks ago and it didn't work out. Then we unstable evolution into a Vexcrow last night and ended up with a Doomsayer on the board, and it was just all sorts of crazy. So I love the idea of Vexcrow, but I think a 12-win deck more likely has an Acolyte of Pain than a Vexcrow. So if this weren't the end of the season and we weren't going for 12 wins, I would probably take the Vexcrow just to play with it a little bit more, just to see what we're doing. But overall, the deck that wins more often uses the Acolyte of Pain to draw cards. Now that's definitely how the logic works in Standard. In Arena, there are some reasons to take random cards, right? You're rolling for the high rolls. You're not going to have the standard combos that you get in Standard. So you have to create some cheese sometimes. You have to be a little bit of a cheese maker. And Vexcrow does do that. Not with this deck so far, though. I'm not too confident we're going to have a lot of things that work with Vexcrow based on what we've got so far. I can't imagine, unless we get another Mana Worm, that we're even going to want like an Arcane Missiles. We're probably going to want just a lot more bodies. And I think because we want the bodies, we're going to take the War Golem and just have a fatty in there. It's not the best one, but it's possible that it gets us going here. So Shield Bearer is a definite no. If we had a heal or a buff, maybe, sure, he works with the Fungalmancer, but not nearly early enough. It's always good to have secrets, especially if we get another arcane. What's that one guy? I just passed up on it. Arcanologist offered, or the Mage that makes it free to cast. Or there is in the standard set the ethereal guy that gets +2/+2 at the end of your turn if you have a secret. But I was just talking about generating cheese, and we actually had the Gibberer in our 11-win Paladin deck last night. And every once in a while, you can get the Gibberer rolling. It's not that common. It's less common in Mage because one time when we got it rolling last night, it's because we put a Blessing of Might on this bad boy. So it's a lot easier to get Gibberer going if he's a 5/5 on turn 3 or 4 with a fancy coin. But we will take it. Okay, we've got to get the 2 and 3 drops rolling here. So we need the Torn Warrior. We need the Lone Champion. Oh, here we go. Okay, I was just talking about elementals before. We need elementals, but we also need some decent spells. I think the water elemental is way too good to pass up here. There used to be a lot of reason to take this guy before Witchwood came out, right? You had a lot more Discover cards before the other sets rotated out. It was definitely reasonable to take the Tome and end up with 3 spells. Oh baby, here we go. So last night our very first pick was Oakheart, and he got us to 11 wins. He is extremely valuable. He was also next to Alexstrasza. That's interesting. Those guys must like to travel together. Yeah, there we go, Kung Fu. Alexstrasza's, I think, for the two of them, way better in Mage than Oakheart is. But the Arugula is the wild card. This was not offered to us last night via Paladin. And we saw this guy against a Mage the other day, and that Mage dropped him on turn 2 just so that it was fitting with the curve. And they did draw a minion, but I'm thinking he's really good in Mage, especially on turn like 4 or 5 when you establish some board presence, right? Like, what if we get to turn 3, Acolyte of Pain or Lone Champion, and then we drop the Arugula behind it? I think probably that Alexstrasza is just too good, though. Especially if we get a Pyroblast, right? This way we can play for board pressure the entire game and get to Alexstrasza. Yeah, I'm actually going to write a note to myself, though. I like to do this sometimes when you make a tough choice, is remind ourselves in-game when we come across the Alexstrasza, remind ourselves that we picked that over the Arugula and see if we would have rather had the other one, so we know for the future, right? So they come up often together. We don't get that many legendaries as it is. So if we get that same bucket next time and it's Oakheart next to Alexstrasza next to something else, we really wanna know what to do with ourselves. Oh, so here's the ethereal that buffs with the secrets, and I think the ceiling of this guy is way too high to pass up for these guys. And here's another solid 4-drop. There we go. Okay, we need some 2s and 3s going. Oof. These ones all stinky, though. Do we have anything that triggers at the end of our turn? If this guy was a 6/6 for 6, which is pretty standard for 6 mana, he would probably be playable with the +2 spell damage, right? Or even if he was 5/5 for 6, man, this guy's just such a miss. We've got to get the secrets just in case we can get some synergy going with the deck. Okay, so we've got really good late game here. I think we need way more mid game. So I don't think we need the Sated Threshodon, right? The Corpse Raiser gives you a lot of value. I don't know out of any of ours even what it works best with. Probably Acolyte of Pain and Elemental. But I think a solid 4-drop that gives them the 5/6 is really good. The problem is that the coins have gotten us in a lot of trouble in the past. We fed them to a Malygos with head crack. We fed them to a Vex Crow. So like, yeah, this guy's really good for the 5/6, but keep your eyes on what your opponents are going to do with those coins. They can get you in trouble, especially if this guy gets Dragon Slayed by a 3-drop. That's always a tough beat. We have to take the Glyph. It's the highest ceiling here. The Basilisk we definitely want to poison, and especially since we got a secret, we want an Arcanologist. And I think this is the 3rd one that we're passing on, so we might have that ship might have sailed, guys. But the Glyph has the highest ceiling. I was just saying with Alexstrasza, if we get a Pyroblast, yes, this isn't a Pyroblast, but it gives us a 3 out of 25 chance of getting one. So I think probably it's worth it. And since we have the Arcanist and we don't have a silence yet, we're going to take the Spellbender. It's almost as good as a silence, especially against Paladins. Okay, here we go. Now we're starting to fill the deck out. Now in this deck, I definitely want a Fireball, but I can't take the Fireball over our first Flamestrike. I just can't. Probably over our second Flamestrike, but not over our first. And I really want a Kirin Mage actually, but I can't go over our second Blizzard. We are going huge Mage here. We're not going big Mage. We're going we're going huge Mage here. We need this guy because with the dragons, he is insanely good. Without it, he's okay, but oh man, can I pass up on the 4th Arcanologist over our what would be our only poison? We need the poison. We've got a little bit of card draw, but we need the poison. Okay, here we go. We're getting some 2-drops. What do we have for 2-drops so far? So I think we actually take this guy. Even though he's not one of my favorite werewolves, I think we take him because if we can drop him as a 1/4 on turn 2, just to get something on the board, it's probably worth it, right? We're very unlikely going to activate the Thug. I don't want to say never, because there are really crazy things that happen out there. Okay, we could even just get Togwaggled, right? Like, there's always a chance that somebody gives us a weapon with Togwaggle. So let's not say there's no chance, but it's a very small chance that we end up buffing our Thug. So as far as a 3-drop, he's just a 3/3, but I actually think we need a 3 drop that's just a 3/3, right? We actually don't have anybody like that. Yeah, we need him. We need that guy. Okay, so here's more elemental. I was saying we need the elemental chain. He's my third favorite of the three. The Steam Surger is number one, and then the Servant. Yes, the Servant gives you an external card, but sometimes you get too far behind, whereas the Steam Surger is the guaranteed 4-drop with the direct damage is really solid. Sure, this guy could give you an insane elemental, but with our luck, we're lucky to get a Tar Creeper, which, hey, no knocking the Tar Creeper. I've argued before, the Tar Creeper coming out when he did was what I noticed to be the biggest shift in the meta. I mean, it was a whole set, right? So I'm not going to say it's just the Tar Creeper, but I remember aggro, everything taking a pretty big hit, and the whole game changing from having a 3-drop that any class could play. For even an aggro, it's good. I mean, it's being played in Odd Rogue right now. It's just so good. So I'm not knocking the Tar Creeper, but that comes from the Servant, not from the Bonfire. This guy's not going to get me a Tar Creeper. Anyway, what do we have for 4-drops? You know, our 4-drops are pretty solid. I think are pretty solid. We got a tossed 4-drops. No, they're pretty solid. The only one we might not want to play on curve is just the Arcanist, right? Because if we can get it to turn 7 and make it a 5/5 with one of our other guys. So I was just hating on the Bonfire for like a minute, but I actually need him for a 5-drop. So welcome to the team, Bonfire. Please don't hate me. So do we have enough spells? I think we might actually need this just for some early trades. It gives us an elemental for the chain. But the Cold Wraith is... I mean, I took the Thug because we don't have a Cold Wraith, right? If I could go back 2 picks, change the Thug to the 2-drop, then I would definitely take the Cold Wraith. Do we have a need for another 8-drop? I don't think so. This is looking pretty tough over here. We need some bumps in here. I think having this guy as a 2-drop is probably better than our elemental, right? Okay, there we go. There's another 2-drop. We'll take it. I'm a little sad that I had to pass up on the mirror, but yeah, and the Bonfire is a draw, which you never knock draw in Arena. It's just which is why I took him, but I spent a minute knocking how I like the other ones better. The trick is, even though he's a good draw for you, if you bottleneck a deck, which happens a lot with Mage, you can bottleneck the deck where even though you're getting the draw out of Bonfire Elemental, you're not getting the value out of your hand because you have way too much up here. So we're actually happy to see another low pick here, and I think we take the Wind Fury. Though having 2 volatile elementals in Mage is pretty much the best class to have it in, right? We get the elemental. What do we have for 3-drops? And he's not that great at trading. I mean, he's good for late game. It's still possible that we'll see like a Corpse Taker, and having the Wind Fury take for that would be good. I mean, it's not likely, so picking him because we're hoping to get a Corpse Taker is pretty bad idea. But yeah, let's get the second elemental tag. I think that's a better idea. Okay, so we already have a Grim Necromancer. I think we're fine on 2-drops. The Mirror Entity, we probably take that just to try to get it going with the Arcanist, just to have the value out of that like mid game to catch up, right? Yeah, let's take yeah, let's take that. I think that's okay. So I love me a Sorcerer's Apprentice, but if a random Mage spell is too much to pass up, way too valuable. And then finally another secret. Okay, so we've got 4 secrets. So we've got a lot to work with the Arcanist. That's really good. Probably the one that's going to last the longest and work with him the best is Spellbender. Maybe Ice Barrier if we get it behind like a lone champion. But the Spellbender can be pretty tricky to activate. Some people might throw out the coin, might throw out another spell to test for Counterspell or Mana Bind, but they might not have an actual buff, something that targets a minion to do it, especially one that they want to test it with. A lot of the time the spells that target minions are too valuable, so we're looking for that combo. We didn't get a Silence, so at least we got a bunch of AoE. I would have liked one more Discover. We've got the Glyph. I would have liked either one more Discover or a Pyroblast. I don't know, guys. We're going for the 12 win, but I'm not sure this will get there. I'm not sure this will get there. We'll have to navigate the early game extremely carefully, and then when we get to late game, we'll have to guarantee ours outvalues their late game, right? So a Paladin is probably going to have a better late game than us. We've got to get every single Flamestrike and Blizzard right